Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 Yai, da, 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 da. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am Rabbi Benjamin Zober of Temple Sinai in Reno, Nevada. And with me, as always, Rabbi Sarah is at a family wedding this Shabbat, so she will not be with us, but I am here, and I am so glad that all of you are here, wherever here is in Reno or parts far and wide, and so glad that you have decided to bring in Shabbat with me this evening with a little bit of song and prayer and some learning and Torah. If you have not already done so, now is the perfect time to download our virtual Siddur. It will have all of the prayers and all of the readings and everything you need for this evening, including one or two things that may not be in our old friend Mishkan Tefillah. But if you have Mishkan Tefillah, or you just like to follow along without any sort of book or anything in your way, all options are absolutely valid and wonderful. What's important is that you take a few moments and this time to help bring in Shabbat and usher in our day of rest and refreshment and peace. We will begin our readings this evening on page 3 of Mishkan Tefillah, or the very next page in the virtual Siddur, if you have that. It is all the way down at the bottom of the page in the footnotes. We read together, "Help me perfect my ways of loving and caring. Inspire me to make myself whole, so that I may honor your name and create a world of justice and peace." And what Shabbat service would be complete without our lighting of the Sabbath candles? I wonder if maybe now that I'm back at home, if I will have someone to help me light them. I will slowly make my way over there and see what happens. Oh, hello!
Repelling instead of.
Fortunately, I have more. I'll go through all 250 if I have to.
Hey!
I hope I don't have to. Please don't.
Oh God.
There. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And we continue in welcoming Shabbat on page 10 with an oldie but a goodie, Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad, hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad, hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. And we continue on to page 12 with Lechu Neranana. Lechu Neranana, yai dai 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 dai, L'Adonai, yai dai 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 dai, Nahariya, yai dai 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 dai, Litzor Yishenu, yada dai 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 dai, Nikadma vanav betoda, Bizmiro narialo, Lechu neranena, yai dai 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 dai, L'Adonai, yada dai 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 dai, Nahariya, yai dai 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 dai, Litzor Yishenu, yada dai 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 dai, Ki el gadol Adonai, Adonai, Umelech gadol kol Elohim, Elohim, Lechu neranena, yai dai 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 dai, L'Adonai, yada dai 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 dai. And we continue on to page 20 for our welcoming of the Sabbath bride, Lecha Dodi. As is our tradition, we will sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach the 9th and final verse, if you are able, we ask that you rise and turn to welcome the Sabbath bride into your midst. Lecha dodi lihikrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi lihikrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'letechila, Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki hi mekor haberecha, mirosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitorari ki va'orech kumi ori, uri shir daberi, kvod Adonai alaych nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, ידדי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, ידדי, 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 פני שבת נקבלה. You may be seated. We continue together on page 26 with the Baruch Hu. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirute v'yamrich malchute, b'chayechon uyom echon uv'chayedek chol beit Yisrael, bagala bagala uvizman kariv v'meru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, Le'alam ulmehamaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yitareh, V'yithalal, Shmei Kudesha Berichu, Leila min kol birchata v'ashirata, Tush bechata v'nechemata, Tahamiran be'alma v'meru. Amen. We turn to page 28, and if you are able, please rise for the Baruch Hu. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. And we read together on page 31. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Ahavat Olam can be found on the next page. Ahavat Olam, Bet Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Avcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadata, Otanu limadata. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokvenu, Kumenu nasiach b'chukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, V'yorech yameinu, Uvahem nage yomam v'layla, Nage yomam v'layla, V'ahavatcha al tasir, Mimenu le'olamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema can be found on the very next page. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. We continue together on page 36 with the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvrechtecha v'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam laot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvihisharecha leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. Continue now with a reading that is not in your books, but in the virtual Siddur. I know the pain of slavery and the lash of the taskmaster's whip. I know the smell of the sea air on the road to the promised land, a breeze that resembles freedom. I can differentiate between the thunder of God and the murmur of the people at the mountain's foot. I know coming home to a place that had only been a promise, a dream. I know exile. I remember return. I know it happens again and again. I remember wandering, hoping, suffering, waiting, suffering, believing. I know God. I know God. I know. Michamocha can be found on page 40. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh feleh, nora tehilot oseh feleh. Malachutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe, zelianu ve'ameru, zelianu ve'ameru. Adonai imlo le'olam va'ed, Adonai imlo le'olam va'ed. V'nehemar kifar Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miad chazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai gal Yisrael. We continue together on page 43 in the middle of the page. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth, prepare for us as we return, Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Vishamru can be found on the next page. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael od hi leolam, od hi leolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat v'yinafash, Shavat v'yinafash, Shavat v'yinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam b'rit olam. I had no idea that there were hand motions to that, Naomi. There are hand motions to that. I'm going to have to learn those. It's going to be my project. No. You don't have to do it. You just have to teach me. Okay. Anyway. We turn to page 46 for the Amidah. If you are able, please rise. Adonai sifatayv tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel hayim b'chesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Sohomek noflim v'rofech oholim, Umatir asurim, Umakahayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umidom helach, Melech memit umachayei, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukroshim b'chol yom yelu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh. Please take these next few moments for silent prayer and reflection and have a seat when you are finished or when you feel ready. Oseh Shalom can be found on page 62. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. We turn now to Seder Kriyat HaTorah, our Torah service this evening. We will begin on page 245 at the top of the page, and we read together, "Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah. And let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God." And although it's against most of our religions, we're going to flip backwards to page 86. You can't go backwards in the book. You got to get to the end. Page 86 for our blessing of study of Torah. And we say together, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Let us busy ourselves with the study of Torah. Our reading this evening is from Parshat Shoftim, about the judges. We are starting at the beginning of the portion. This is one that, if you know me, you know is a favorite of mine. Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'kol she'arecha asher Adonai Elohecha noten lecha lishvatecha v'shaftu et ha'am mishpat tzedek lo tateh mishpat lo hakir panim v'lo tikach shochar ki hashochar ya'aver einei chochamim v'yisaref divrei tzadikim. Tzedek tirdof, lema'an tihiyeh vayarashta et haaretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach. You shall appoint magistrates and officials for your tribes in all the settlements that Adonai your God is giving you, and they shall govern the people with due justice. You shall not judge unfairly. You shall show no partiality. You shall not take bribes, for bribes blind the eyes of the discerning and upset the plea of the just. Justice shall you pursue, that you may thrive and occupy the land that Adonai your God is giving to you. At this time, we will take a moment to think of those in our community who need a bit of healing, whether it is of body, of mind, or of spirit. At this time, we are thinking of Harav Aharon Ben Tova, Wendy Alderman, Lucille Alexander, Stanley Browdy, Neil Calder, Patrick Campbell, Megan Carney Cranmer, Elizabeth Crump, Hamida Derry, Vida Dworkin, Terry Gregory, Marlene Harris, Harvey Higdon, Harav Katriel Ben Karen, Dave Levine, Joan Nutkin, Lori Pattison, Shirley Rutkovitz, Sarah Bachava, Marianne Schenker, Monica Cecilia, Jessica Wadatz, Usher Zalech, everyone affected by the wildfires around us this season, and everyone affected by the coronavirus, and of course, all of the names that either you have held in your heart or you have shared in the comments. For all of these people, we offer our song of healing, Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach, which can be found on page 253. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBrecha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBrecha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And we turn to page 257, and we read in the middle of the page, God's Torah is perfect, reviving the soul. God's teaching is sure, making wise the simple. God's precepts are right, delighting the mind. God's mitzvot are clear, giving light to the eyes. God's word is pure, enduring forever. God's judgments are true and altogether just. Justice, justice shall you pursue. But what if we cannot? What if enacting justice is outside of our ability? Or what if the laws, the procedures and processes no longer conform to our sense of right and justice? What happens when our system is not justice, but just is? Our Torah portion this week offers us a strategy. Ask for help. We learn that if a case is too baffling for you to decide, be it a controversy over homicide, civil law, or assault, matters of dispute in your courts, you shall promptly repair to the place that Adonai your God will have chosen and appear before the Levitical priests or the magistrate in charge at the time and present your problem. Ask the experts. And so throughout our history, we did. One such moment, one such time was when the Romans were in charge. They controlled most things, including the courts, in particular, the ability to hand down and enforce a death sentence. Any execution during that time was their responsibility and their doing. So what then if a case would arise in our community that met the Torah's requirements for an execution, a murder, a theft, a particularly rebellious son? Over many a tractate of Talmud, the rabbis laid out what would it take to meet the requirements for implementing the death penalty. They required a multiplicity of witnesses, warnings to the perpetrator, and a host of other hurdles so high that no crime would fit the description. And as a result, they could not carry out the death sentence, placating the Romans and also not violating the Torah's command. It is a cold and cynical reading of the Talmud to reduce it to legal loopholes and workarounds. To read the Talmud and really imagine why the rabbis debated so long, especially over the death penalty, is to see that they saw the moral imperative, saving life. Their discussions were about balancing their recognition that the death penalty was wrong with the Torah's required punishment. Their hesitancy is recorded in the Talmud. At one point, we read, a Sanhedrin that executes a transgressor once in 7 years is characterized as a destructive tribunal. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says this categorization applies to a Sanhedrin that executes a transgressor once in 70 years. The standards and requirements they set so high put an end to their use of the death penalty. But what about us today? We still use the death penalty in this country. And yet, we are right now encountering a problem that may seem a bit familiar. We cannot carry it out. The Constitution guarantees that we are free from cruel and unusual punishment. And ever since the ink dried on that amendment, we have debated and changed what constitutes both cruel and unusual. Our machinery of death has seen changes from hangings and firing squads to electrocutions and gas chambers, each one promising painless deaths, instant deaths, all designed so that we did not have to endure the pain of watching someone be killed. And lastly, we developed lethal injections, doses of drugs that would seemingly let someone go to sleep and never wake up. But it was not so. In part because doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals were not going to participate in killing another person, the duty to preserve life and do no harm is not to be ignored. And then the pharmaceutical companies that have no problem raising prices to make a profit, limiting supply to increase demand, they revealed that they drew the moral line in a very reasonable place. They had dedicated unimaginable resources to developing drugs to save lives. They did not want those miracles to be used to take lives. And for a company that hoped to make its name synonymous with life-saving technology, they did not want to be linked to killing people. One can only imagine what sort of values would attach to a company or organization that remains unconcerned that it is linked to killing people. And so the companies refused to sell their products to the states, refused to give drugs to the government. And then the states, Nevada included, found themselves with that familiar problem: what to do when the law says you must act, but you are unable. Where once the sages puzzled over how to perform an execution when they were forbidden, their real project was ending the death penalty, ending the immoral act of taking a human life intentionally. We are not there yet. Nevada, unable to procure the drugs it needs, and with doctors and pharmacists bravely and rightfully refusing to offer their life-saving knowledge to enable the state to kill, has no means of execution. And rather than see the moral avenue before them, the state is seeking to use untested combinations of drugs, chemicals hypothetically able to end someone's life. They may work, They may not. They may work but leave the victim in incredible or horrifying pain. And failing all of that, the state may revive firing squads or gas chambers, means that we all agreed generations ago were barbaric and bore the stain of the amoral and unscrupulous regimes that subjected their people to them. The rabbis set impossible standards because it should not be easy to kill. They did not want people to kill even as a punishment. We find today that it is still so hard to kill. The difference is that we still try so hard. We try so hard despite the evidence of unreliable courts, despite the myth of deterrence being disproved, despite the cost, despite the evolving standards of decency, despite evidence that our system is full of racial and economic bias, rife with iniquities, unreliable methodologies and procedures, and sustained by specious arguments of justice, despite the fact that we have perverted life-saving drugs and turned them into murder weapons. And despite the fact that because we cannot procure drugs or proper protocols, we have no means to kill. Maybe it's time to try something else. God tells Moses that if a case is too baffling, to take it to the priests and the magistrate. How we evaluate whether or not to execute people has already been established. Long before every indication told us it is inappropriate in our modern world, the rabbis said the same thing. Inappropriate every 7 years, inappropriate every 70. According to Rabbi Tarfon and Akiva, two of our greatest teachers, the only acceptable outcome is no executions, lest it make murderers of us all. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Aleinu, the bottom of page 282. If you are able, please rise. Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, latet gedula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, v'gohor aleinu k'cho amonam, v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim livnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those whose presence in our community is only in memory, those who have died recently or at this time in seasons past. At this time, we recall Henry Kronberg, David Stucker, Joe Johns, Sherwin Sider, Arthur Ashkin, Jack Robinson, Betty Williams, Pamela Walker, Barb McBrady, Mary Jane Ludwig, Inga Kaplan, Elizabeth Ruth Rassler, James Cross, Peter A. Alsberg, PhD, Eileen Jenkins, Selma Four, Steve Strauss, Andrew Verratti, Donna Matlis, Charlie Perlman, Rabbi Michael Cook, Sharon Perlman, Mildred Millie Small, Alan Dabro, William Leibovic, Jim Ballantyne, Eli Kahn. And this Shabbat we commemorate the yardzites of Harris Kahn, Sidonia Fox, Lillian Itkov, Arthur Olsner, Betty Olsner, Carol Halprin, Ethel Jaffe, Paula Moses, Sally Saratic, Edward Dworkin, Max Minnick, Harry Hart Weinberg, Margaret Wolf, Ruth Kahn Dickens, Erin Feinstein, Alan Lewis, Fanny Rice, Emmanuel Goldstein, Seda Kaplan, Candy Rich, Bertha Wyman. For those names and those that you have added in your hearts or in the comments, Kaddish Yatom can be found on page 294. If it is your custom, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. B'alma tivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon uvyomechon uvchayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulme almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal Shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ala min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. We have a few announcements for you this evening. First is that following our service tonight, we will be jumping right into our Yism'Zoom virtual Oneg. I would like to thank Chris and Laura for being our virtual hosts. The information is right there if you want to join us. Just a great chance to say hi and check in with everybody else. But don't stay up too late because tomorrow is a very special day. Not only is it my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, I hope you got them something because I didn't. Kidding. But tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., we have our Torah study, which is via Zoom. We are in Genesis. We are moving right along, getting into the Jacob stories with all of the fun and wildness and interesting things that go there. SinaiReno.org/Torah study for information on that, or talk to Deborah Ochtenberg. On Monday and Tuesday, our hardworking and unbelievable administrator, Mike Stombaugh, will be taking 2 very, very, very well-deserved days off. So the temple office will be closed. So if you have a need, hopefully it can wait until Wednesday, and hopefully there aren't too many things waiting for him when he gets back, because we are right in the thick of getting ready for the high holidays, which are coming real fast. On the 20th of August, that's a week from today, we are going to be doing our second Shabbat under the Star service. This one is in the north at Las Brisas Park in Northwest Reno. If you've not been, it's a whole lot of fun. We do a service outdoors. It's a bit shorter than the ones that we do on a normal Friday night, but it's got a lot of singing and fun and good things like that. And then afterwards, if you would like, stick around and have a picnic dinner. It's a nice chance to see people. Hopefully the smoke will allow us to breathe easy, and being outside, it will be a little easier for us to gather safely in this time of COVID. On the 22nd, that's a Sunday, that's a week from Sunday, at 9 a.m., Building and Grounds is having a weeding party. Come help spruce up the property. We need all the hands we can get. It happens every year. The weeds, as many times as we pull them, they just start to come back. So if you are able, please come and help clean up around the building for that. And the next things that we've got to say are the high holidays. Our first of the high holidays is the 28th of August. It is a Saturday night. We are at 8 p.m. is the Leil Slichot program. It's going to be via live stream. If you've not done Slichot before, it's a lot of fun. Rabbi Sarah likes to say that it's the greatest hits of the high holidays. We sing through a whole bunch of the key melodies. We have some readings. We switch the Torah covers from their everyday, very colorful ones to the dress white ones for the high holidays. It's a really excellent chance to kind of start getting in that space, getting in that frame of mind about the high holidays. So we hope that you will tune into that and check that out. And that is probably enough for now. Of course, that as I mentioned, the high holidays are also coming up. Information, some of it's already out there, more will be coming. So we hope that you will be able to join us for our high holiday services this year. We've got all sorts of stuff planned and want to make it special, even though it's not quite what we had hoped it would be. So I think I've run out of things. Naomi, you have anything you want to share? She's shaking her head no. Okay, well, good. Then we will go to our closing number, which is on page 330. It is Ma Yafeh Hayom, how lovely today is. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. And if you have not already done so, we'll take this opportunity to do Kiddush. It can be found on page 5 of your prayer books.
Kiddush.
Oh, Kiddush, she comes out. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon chinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lamikra'e kodesh zecher letziyat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta yotanu kidasha mikohamim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvraton hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mikadesh Shabbat.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Oh, slow down there, kid.